Recording, lovely. Workshop 9, everyone. Welcome. Glad to have you back, Milo, for this one.
Thank you, baby. Much appreciated, homie.
Pleasures. Today we will. I don't know if you managed to catch up on the previous one at all, but it should be pretty straightforward for you. We're going to focus on combining our widgets with our player character and making a bit of a damage. It's a very simple damage system to allow us to take damage, I guess, once we go over our pit of death, which we created in workshop 7. And a recap of last week, just to go over my Unreal. I'll hit play here just to see what we've accomplished. It's a little user interface attached to our player controller with a health bar, and we've assigned a progress bar to that, and which has a health of currently 100 value. And today we're going to focus on making sure that health decreases as we overlap over this beautiful fire pit. Currently we just have a print text saying that I'm burning. But I've slightly done a bit of research since our last workshop, and I found that Unreal Engine 5 has a new way of doing this, and it's quite interesting. Previously, I thought we'll approach this with a box collision on our actor blueprint, but Unreal Engine, believe it or not, have these things called pain volumes, which does exactly what it says on the tin. It causes pain. Now, probably brain power pain. You go on. Now you're gonna say something about this.
Yo. I think. Are you trying to share something on web, or do you want to show this?
Am I not
Because I think.
sharing
Yeah. Right now we're on Discord. That's the screen that's being shared.
Discord screen? Really? Share screens. Oh, screen 2. Sorry, man. Thanks for that. Apologies.
Yeah. No stress. No stress.
Cool. Sorry. No, I was just showing the Unreal project and when we were last. Health system. Bit of text saying burning once we overlap with the pit of death over here, and we're just gonna make that health decrease. Now we've really approached, like I said, with the box collision. So our actor here with our particle system has a box around it, so that we can, once we overlap it, we know when we're in the box and we know when to receive damage. But like I said, Unreal have revealed a lovely little thing in Unreal Engine 5. Maybe it's available in Engine 4, but I haven't come across it before. A pain causing volume actor. So essentially it's the same thing as the box collision. It is a box or a sphere or anything we create that allows us to input certain parameters that you would necessarily, before you would have to create these in your blueprints like we were going to, but this just makes our lives a lot easier. So that's the approach we're going to take, because going forward, I guess this is good practices, so it's good to teach the up-to-date things. But feel free to explore the previous ways if you want a little bit more flexibility. These pain-causing volumes, I'm pretty sure you can get behind the C++ and manipulate them to do what you want it to do. But if you're mainly focusing on staying on the blueprint side, then you might want to create your own custom blueprints to do the effects that this is going to do. So I'll share this later. Feel free to have a skim through that. We're also going to look at a new type of blueprint today called player controllers. And player controllers is, like it says here, is the interface between the pawn, our character, and the human controlling it. So before we created we were already given a third-person blueprint character, pawn, which we call it as well a pawn. But essentially what a controller does is we can have the same controller applied to multiple different characters. So in a large scale game, that's going to be quite useful, because we don't have to repeat the code under every single character pawn blueprint itself. We can just call the events that are happening in the player controller, which is quite handy. It's a lot of types of blueprints here and there, but it will make sense because You don't want to end up with humongous blueprints. You want to end up with blueprints that serve specific functions and merge them between if you need to. And the next thing we're going to look at is custom events. We're going to create our own custom events in the blueprint to, in this case, receive damage when we overlap with the pain causing volume. But custom events are super handy. I suggest have a read through them because you will basically use this very often. Unreal have their own functions which we'll also use today, but these events will be a combination of both, and that's a way to segment your code a little bit so it doesn't get very messy in the blueprints. So we'll have a read through that as well. Coolio. Are we ready to dive into the project? Everybody got their project loaded up with their landscape environment? Should be by default starting fresh in the content. Now I might pop and open some blueprints that I've already played around with before, but that's just for my own context to make sure everything's in order, but we'll just follow through. So let's begin. Any questions to here? Thumbs up. Ruby?
I wanted to know, did we go over before how to make a certain level a default level when you open up your project?
No, but good question. Very simple thing to do. This should be closed. So if you go to edit on the top taskbar and project settings, should open up your project settings with a lot of different things you can manipulate here, but the one we were looking for is maps and modes, which is the fourth one down. Project maps and modes, and then here it says editor startup. So you have an editor startup and then you have a game default map. So editor is what we're using now, anything in the editor. So now it's third person map, but we can set it to our landscape or any other map here. And if we're packaging the game for an executable, we would obviously set the master level here for the game default map. So editor startup for editor, the game default map for packaged games.
Thank you.
Question. Okay, so in our because we want to keep it neat, we'll go into our blueprints folder, which we previously created, and in here we're going to look at our first player controller blueprint. So we're going to right click into the content browser, select blueprint class, the blue icon, and select player controller. Player controller is an actor responsible for controlling a pawn used by the player. Nice little description next to it. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to call it, because we want to keep it consistent, third person underscore controller. Now Unreal doesn't like space bars, so we use underscores or dashes. Feel free to keep that consistent, whatever you use. And we're going to use this controller to add certain elements to our viewport. So before, we just wanted to see our health bar pop up really quickly. So what I'm going to do first, before we actually get into this, I'm going to make sure we don't have any functions overlapping. So we're going to go back into the third person folder under content, go into the blueprints, and open up our third person character blueprint. And in there, ignore this, we're going to use this later.
Sorry, which type of blueprint? How did you create that one again? So it was right click, obviously. Then which section? And create advanced section.
Right click, blueprint class.
Oh, just blueprint class. Okay.
Yeah, and then player controller.
And then player controller. Okay, thank you. Cheers.
But first, before we dive into that one, we're going to go back into third person under blueprints, open up our third person character. And here we had, under the event begin play, we added this blueprint, which is create health bar widget and add to viewport. What we're going to do is we're going to hit Alt and click on that. Just disconnect the connection. Or you can right click and disconnect, I think, I believe. Break this link, yeah, break this link. So we're not going to use this, we're going to keep it for future context if we need it, but we're not going to use it for now. We're going to add it to our viewport using our player controller instead, which is the right way of doing it. We don't need to compile at the moment, so we'll just leave it there. And now we can go back to our blueprints folder and open up our third person controller which we created. Now we're gonna go straight into the event graph. We don't care about the viewport. So third one down, event graph into our code. Is that the right way of doing it? Sorry, that's in controller. We'll leave that there, I guess. Yeah, no, we'll go with the flow with it. Sorry guys, we'll go with the flow. In that same folder, back into the content browser, we have our widget blueprint, and we're gonna fire that up, and we're gonna go again to the graph. Now this should be all clear for you. You shouldn't see that there. And we're going to add our first custom event in this widget blueprint, and what this event is going to do is going to set our health bar information. So we're going to right click into the viewport and add custom event. So you can search custom or add custom event, and we're going to name this to set health bar. Already got one there. It's not going to let me do that. Cool. And
Oh, I'm sorry, but how did you get to the event graph for the health bar widget?
So you see on the top right hand corner you have designer and graph.
Oh, sorry, where?
Are you in the widget blueprint?
Yes, I just see the widget. Yes.
And on the top right hand corner, do you see these two, designer and graph?
Oh, yeah.
So one is the 2D layout, and then the graph behind it is what we're using all the functions with.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Are we supposed to have the stuff below?
No. That's just for my own context to make sure we're on the right track. So just to revisit that, in case you missed it, if you right click in the event graph and search custom, the first thing that should pop up is an add custom event. And if you select that and just name it set health bar.
Thank you, I got it.
Awesome. Now under this set health bar, obviously we're gonna have to do some calculations, and we're gonna require two float variables. One which will be our maximum health, which when we begin the game it's going to be obviously 100%, and our current health, which is going to be updated once we receive damage from the fire pit. So under this set health bar function, in the details in the left hand corner, you have this section called inputs and a plus sign next to it. So a custom event, go on.
I was just going to say, this set health bar event, is that related to the components that you already have built from last session, right?
This is new. We don't have.
How did you just make that there? Sorry.
I mean, the widget is from last.
Yeah, the widget is from the last workshop. Yeah. Did you create the widget from the last workshop?
No, but I'm trying to kind of create parts of it. So there's a canvas panel, and then is it an image, or what component is it next underneath the canvas panel?
So canvas panel progress bar. You don't need the the icons for now. You can just continue with the progress bar. You don't need the images that we have here. So
perfect.
just
and then
health and then text,
text,
but you don't need the text. Just keep the health bar for simplicity.
Perfect. Okay.
Cool.
And then the progress bar is what we're referencing.
Yeah, we're gonna reference that. Just name that health bar underscore progress or something useful.
Health bar underscore. Perfect. Thanks, man. Okay.
And then you can customize the UI later.
And then how do you create the event referencing that?
Right click, custom.
Custom event. Mhm.
custom event.
There we go. And then we just name it. Cool. So that's set for set health bar. Okay,
Set
cool.
health bar.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No worries, no worries. So I guess if you were testing stuff first and if you're developing something first, I recommend like playing with the most simplistic things just to avoid any bugs or errors. So if you were designing this interface from scratch, I would remove the icons and just work like Milo's working now with a regular progress bar just to get that code nailed down, and then starting adding layers on top of it so that you remove a lot of the if you have any issues, how you work back towards that. So back onto the set health bar, if we click on this custom event, in the left hand corner, the bottom and the details, we have inputs and a plus sign.
Just a quick question. I can only get, not set, the health bar progress. What do you get whenever you hover over? Can I just see the
So
options that you have?
you don't need to, you're not using the variable at the moment. We're not using the
You're not
variable.
using the variable.
No. So when you're adding a custom event, so just right click, search custom.
And then I made that.
That's it.
And then, we don't need the thing at the bottom right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
There's
don't leave that for that. Sorry, that's
ignore
confusing.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. No worries.
So under the custom event, under inputs, we're gonna double click that and search under the boolean, where it says boolean. We're gonna change that to float, and it's a nice green integer. So click on where it says boolean and change those to float. Search float, or it should be appear there as well under the inputs. So you only get that if you're clicked on set health bar. So it has to be clicked on set health bar and double click on input arguments and set those to float. Now one would be our current health. So now let me do that. Current health. Max health. Okay, it's not letting me do that. Should let you do that. You can you any of you rename them?
Yeah, I have mine current health, and I made another one total health. I'm guessing, right?
Me too. I renamed as current health and param too.
I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that. Okay, I'm just going to continue as is. It's going to be challenging for me. Okay, I'm just going to do that for some reason. Car health and my health.
My health.
My health. my max health. Cool. Okay, so we can see them now. The custom events, these are our inputs, which is great. We're going to use them in many different ways. So inputs. Okay, so we're gonna get the drag out of the variables. So here we should have health bar underscore progress, which is our progress bar from our design under our variables here. Drag and drop that into the editor and set get health bar progress. And if we out of that, we're going to set percent, because we're working with percentages. It should be a blue function, and we need to at this moment divide our current health and our max health, so that would give us a percentage. So we're going to drag out of current health the green pin and hit divide, and we're going to take the max health and add it to the pin below. So we're going to divide current by max, and the output, the return value of that, we're going to drag and drop it into set percent. And this just converts our max current health and our max health into a percentage, which we'll use in our controller pawn in a minute. And obviously, last but not least, we need to connect the set health bar to the set percent thing as well. Now, once we finish that, we compile and save. Now, I learned a new little trick recently. We're all learning stuff. There's a 3 pins next to compile, and there is a lovely little button here which says save on compile, currently set to never, but you can set it to always or only on success, which is quite handy because we don't have to click 2 buttons, we can only click 1. Love it, love it. So I'm going to click on success only, so that gives us a bit of an error and doesn't let save when we do that. So cool, don't have to worry about a save ever again. Happy days, happy days. Okay, now we should have 3 blueprints open here in our top window. We're going to jump back to our BP third person character, and we're going to create this lovely little function right here. I'm just going to go a bit on top of that. Now Unreal has a lot of the stuff built for us, which is quite cool. We can reuse certain functions that we don't have to write ourselves, but obviously, like I said before, they come with limitations and their own parameters, so if you did want more flexibility, you have to create them yourself, but it's good to reuse them where necessary just to get started. So we're going to right click somewhere empty in our BP third person character, and we're going to search in here event any damage. Believe it or not, getting easier by the minute. Event any damage, and it's not going to let me do that because that's probably why it's not letting me do that before. Okay, let me drag that up to the top. Cool, so you should be something like that as well. Not that either. Cool, so again in here we're going to create 2 variables because we need to store our current and max health here as well for our player controller. So the same as before, we're going to set these to float. So click on variables, click the plus sign, add 2 variables, and the same as before, name them current health. I'm going to keep it consistent and go for car and ma, and change those to float. Current health and max health, we need to store those variables as well. Now we're going to take our current health and drag and drop it into our editor, and we're going to search get, and we want to basically subtract from the damage that we're receiving at the moment. So in this lovely event any damage that we have here, it's got this float which is damage, and we're going to connect it later to our pain causing volume in the level, which is quite cool. So if I drag out of this current health and hit subtract, search subtract, and enter, should be a function under operations utilities, and basically I want to subtract our current health. Let's leave it on top here so it's more clear, from the damage that we're receiving. Now at this point, this current function doesn't know how far, what its parameters are. Obviously we've got our current health and our max health, which is set to 100, or a progress bar which is set to 100, whatever variable we want it to be, but we don't know how far it's going to drop. So we need to do something in Unreal, which what we call clamping. So we need to clamp the floats, so we need to give it a range from 0 to 100 basically. Now in this case our 100 is our maximum health. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag out of this return value, out of the subtract, and we're going to search for clamp, and under math float at the top you should have this function clamp float, little clamp. It's exactly what it's going to do, clamp it. So obviously the minimum is 0, our minimum health is 0. If you're creating some crazy game and you want your health to go minus 100 or 200, feel free to set that there, but let's keep it standard at the moment. And obviously our max health, we can set it here to be 100, but we have a variable here and we can reuse it. So we're going to take our variable max health and we're going to drag and drop it under this max clamp float and let go, so that our max health is the same there. And obviously we haven't defined it yet, so if we click on our variable in the left hand side, max health, on the default value in the right hand side, it's going to tell you please compile the blueprint in order to get access to this default value. So we're just going to do that, compile that, and once we compile we can see our max health is now available. So be creative, set it to wherever you want, and keep it basic so we can see what's happening. I'm going to set it to 100. So now this variable is set to max 100 and our current health is being subtracted and also clamped at 0 and maximum 100, which is our maximum health. And out of here, now obviously we want to set our current health. So obviously when we receive the damage, we want this to update. So what we're going to do is we're going to take again our variable current health and let go in the editor a bit further out of clamp and hit set instead of get this time. So now we are, after all this mathematics, we want to set our current health to whatever it is. Now the return will be the clamp, the float, and we need to connect the main pins, so event damage straight to the set. Now just for organization, we can bring these down a little bit so that it's more clear what's happening. And that's it for the character blueprint at the moment. We're going to adjust this a little bit to get into just to update the widget as well once we're getting it, but for now we're going to leave it there so it makes sense, and we're going to jump back to our controller which we've created, so we dive into that and see how we'll manipulate all this current and max health in there. So in the player controller, so if you don't have that open, it should be back into your content browser. We just created third person underscore controller, double click that. And we're not really concerned about the event ticked or the event begin play. We're gonna add our own custom event again, and this time we're gonna update our health. So in the first one, in the character blueprint, we are the code for receiving the damage. The health bar is setting, the UI design we've created is setting the health in the progress bar, and in the controller we're gonna update it frequently. So it also saves us a bit on performance, let's say when we're running the game. If this function that we're about to write was in the player character and was constantly updating and waiting for it to receive commands, then it's not good practice for performance for any sort of game. That's why we like to split it also into the different blueprints, and the functions only update as of when they're needed and when they're called. So in our third person controller, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to create another custom event, and if we right click in there and search custom event again, and this time we're going to call it update health bar. Just keep the name consistency as well. I'll wait for you to get there. Me, let me know when you're good.
Yeah.
Sweet. And update health bar. Where am I? Get widget set. Okay, here. Yeah, this is where we're setting the widget. So I'm gonna drag out of. No, that's out of the event begin play. Apologies. Before we get into the update health bar, we need to first receive our widget here and place it into our world. So before we used the method of create widget and add to viewport, we're going to do exactly that, but this time we're going to do it in the player controller. So out of the event begin play, we're going to create widget, search create widget. Obviously it's the only player, so under the class we're gonna find our health bar widget, which we created, and out of the return node, because we need access to this widget in this player controller, we want it to do stuff, we're going to promote it to a variable. So if I right click out of the blue return pin, I've got this pin action which is called promote to variable, and this is a nice easy way of cross-connecting blueprints. So once I select that, it's going to give me this set function and name new variable, and it's given us a new variable here on the left hand side. We can rename this to health bar widget, just so we know what it is. And because it's previously how we created it was we plussed on the variables and then we selected a float. This, by doing it this way, it's automatically created the variable type for us, which is a widget component, which is easy, so we don't have to confuse things. And out of the set, we're going to, right out of that, add to viewport. Is it that one? Add to viewport? Yeah, add to viewport. And the blue pin connecting to the target. So the widget which we just created and set, we're going to add it to that viewport. Now that's it for that function. Like before, very straightforward, just going to appear there. Now back up to the update health bar custom event which we just created. We're going to, that's why we needed to create this, so we can get reference to this health bar widget, right? So we are creating the widget here, we're calling the class, and now we have access to that class. So we can get stuff out of that blueprint which we've added. And in this case, you know, we might want to use progress bar, other variables. It can be extensive. So we're going to get a reference of this variable. So drag and drop the health bar widget back into our editor and hit get. And because we are making things into functions, we don't have to recreate them. In our widget, we have this set health bar function. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this function, which will then call this event. It's nice and neat. So we get access to this health bar widget, which is calling this widget, and now in this variable we can find that function. Otherwise, if we didn't have a reference to that widget, we can't find the function that the custom event that we just created. Let me distinguish custom events and functions. So now if I drag out of the blueprint of health bar widget, I can find set health bar, and that's call function. And because we've already added our inputs, we get our current and max health as well. So if I drag and connect the update health bar with the set health bar, now we could do it like previously. We could add plus in our inputs, but some shortcuts as well I like to teach you guys. So if you drag out of the current health green pin and hover over this update, and it gives you that green tick box, and let go, it's gonna add it straight into that custom event. So do it for the second one as well, so you can see you can drag out of the max health and let go somewhere in the custom event, and that should allow it to pin. Groovy?
Groovy.
Me, you good? I feel like you lost me. I lost you there for a sec.
No, I deleted a wrong thing and then I fell off the wagon, but it's okay. I'll just carry on.
How far before was this?
So when we began the first red thing at the top, the update health bar,
yep.
I deleted the other one because I thought you did that, and then
the event begin play.
Then I did, yeah.
That's cool. We can get that back. That's pretty cool. That's fine. So if you right click in the editor here, and
so now I have that back, but I don't have the one that we made.
The update health bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, same as before. Right click, custom event. and name that update health bar. And drag out of the variables here on the left hand side the health bar widget, drag that and drop it into the editor and set get. Yeah?
I don't have it there. Should I create it?
You don't have the health bar widget variable here.
No.
Okay, so here, do you have this here, the create widget set add to viewport? You're on mute.
Got none of that.
You got none of that?
No.
I thought that's the one you brought back as well.
No. So I fell off earlier. So let's just
cool.
carry on. I don't want to. Yeah.
Are you guys cool to help me for a sec?
Yeah, man, take your time.
Yeah,
Take your time.
sweet.
Help me.
Cool. We might
Yeah, it's okay.
might put us off five minutes, but it's cool. So if you right click and do event begin play,
Yeah.
enter that, and drag out of the event begin play and search create widget. Yep, and under the class you search your health bar widget, which we created in the previous tutorial.
Just health bar.
Yeah. Now after on the return value, on the blue pin return, right click on that and do promote to variable. Yeah, and that's brought up a new variable here on the on the left hand side. Call that health bar widget. It should be labeled variable, new variable. Just rename that to health bar widget. Should have a reference of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and now out of the set function which is created for you, drag and drop, drag and let go, and insert add to viewport, and it should be the last one. User interface viewport, add to viewport.
Yeah.
And make sure they're all connected. So white to white, blue to blue. Coolio, you good with that?
Cool. That's thank you.
Sweet. So now back up here, do you have this as well now? Sorry, except for the green ones. Do you have update health bar? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And now you should have access to this health bar widget, right? So drag and drop that into your editor, let go, and search get. Yeah. And out of there, the blue pin, search set health bar. Co-function set health bar.
Cool.
So just to reiterate, what that does is set health bar is this specific event we created in the widget. So our widget here, behind it in the graph, has this set health bar custom event, which is taking our current health, dividing it to our maximum health, and applying it to our progress bar. Now in the third person controller, we're creating a new event, update health bar, which is calling our widget, and it's calling that custom event we created in the widget. So you should have two green pins here. If you drag out of the top one, current health, and let go somewhere in the custom event where there's a tick, and let go, it should create a pin for you, and you do that for both. That's just a shortcut of creating the inputs like we did before for the original custom event. So you can do it that way because we've already created it, so it's nice and straightforward.
So thank you so much.
No, okay, so we should all be back on the same page now. Now I need to check my notes for a second so I can rewind what's next. Set health bar, create input pins, drag and drop. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna leave that as is for now. Compile and maybe save if you need to, as we'll revisit that later. Now we're just going with the flow of things, so we're gonna go back to our third person character where we created our event any damage. And here we need a reference of that controller. So we need to call that controller and get that update function. So once we're setting it, once we're updating it, and now we need to do something with our damage. So what we can do is search get is it controller, get controller, sorry one sec, get third, sorry, get controller, and it should be under the pawn, get controller, and under return value we're going to do a cast, which I'll also share what a cast function is. It's quite important to know in Unreal. So we're going to search cast to, and we're going to reference our third person controller. So search cast to third person underscore controller, and that should already let you fill it out. So essentially it's another way of doing exactly this, what we just done here. So here we are creating a health bar widget, and we're creating a variable for it, and that's referencing the health bar widget. In this instance, for the character blueprint, we're creating a cast event to cast to this third person controller and receive stuff out of that third person controller, so we can manipulate it here in this player pawn as well. It might seem a little bit complex to you now, but once you repeat it a few times and understand how the links connect, it's quite straightforward. So because we've casted to this, let's connect first the set to the cast. And that's an end pin, we don't need to do anything with that. And but at third person controller, we need access to this update health bar function. So as third person controller and the blue pin, we're going to get reference to update health bar custom event, which we created previously, and immediately we get access to our current and our max health. So because we've already created these variables here earlier and we've done our maths, we've obviously these variables are constantly storing information, right? So if I this is setting a current health here, now this is updating this current health value. So if I drag and drop my current health under this update health bar, now this variable is whatever happens after here. So because we're setting it to current health, this is going to be our current health, and that's going to update our controller, which is also going to update our widget. So we can start to see the links now. And the same with max health. We're going to drag and drop out of max health variable into the max health update health bar custom event, which we created. Cool. And that's it for that one. Now the last thing we need to do is obviously set our current health when the game begins. You might create a game in the future where it's a save and load type game, and you might want to respawn the player with the same health, or maybe they're going to a separate map or separate game instance, whatever, and they will require to carry on that health with them. So we're going to need to set that as well. So what we're going to do is same operation we did earlier. We're going to drag and highlight these cast to third person and update health bar features and get controller, and we're going to control B there, and we're going to remove, sorry, it's getting a bit complex here in our blueprint at the moment. We should have this event begin play, which we unpinned our create current health bar widget. So we'll move that a bit further down so it doesn't confuse us. And what we're going to bring back into the mix is what we just copied. We're going to bring that after add mapping context and connect that to the cast, because we want it to happen on event begin play. We're going to connect it, so this is more of a linear flow. It doesn't necessarily matter what happens in these stages. It's just separate things that happen on the as soon as the game begins, which we want it to do. So we're all good there. We've copied that. Yeah, sweet as. Now we're getting that information. We can update the health, but first we need to set the health. So we're going to drag that a bit further out, and we're going to get a reference to our current health here and hit set, and we're going to connect input mapping nodes into the set and the set into the cast. And because as soon as the event begins we want to store our maximum health, we're going to take our maximum health and define it as our current health, which makes sense. So drag out of the variable maximum health and drop it under the green pin of current health. So now we're setting our current health. As soon as the game begins, we've got 100% health, and then we're casting to this third person blueprint so that it ticks every time and it knows when to update the health as of when functions happen. So we're going to compile this and save as always. I'm going to go into our other blueprints as well, make sure they're all compiled and saved so that we don't have any issues. So it's all there. Everybody clear with the logic and how these blueprints are connected? We did a little schematic in the early days. Don't know if you remember that. After beginning of workshop 7, I believe. I'll reshare that so it becomes a bit more apparent. But once you lay these down on a piece of paper first in terms of the order in which you want these carried out, then you'll know which blueprints will require those certain functions and variables and stuff happening behind the scenes. So we're happy with our blueprints. We're gonna leave them there. So we should have now a event damage which stores our current health and subtracts it from our maximum health. We're then telling it that our lowest health is 0, and we're setting that as our current health, and then we're updating our health bar widget. Now the update health bar function is under a controller which we're going to parent to our game mode, which references the widget that is our progress bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now back into our level in our landscape. Under world settings, if you don't have world settings somewhere in your next to your details, if you go to window and world settings, if I currently, just for a test for you guys, don't need to do this, but if I currently hit play, nothing's happening. We don't see our widget anymore like we had from last tutorial. If I overlap with this, it's currently calling it from the current, but it's not updating our health at all. So what we're gonna need to do is in our world settings, we don't have anything here. Why is that? Because we have third person character here. Okay, game mode. Under game mode, we're gonna set our BP third person game mode. That will automatically add the third person pawn class for us. And under player controller, it should be empty, or it should have default. You're gonna click on that and add our third person controller. Cool, so you should have HUD class, player controller, game state as is. Everything else left for default at the moment. So now if we save all and we hit, we should have, I guess we should get our health bar back. So if we hit play, we can now see that we've got our health bar back now that we've defined that player controller, because that player controller has a reference to our widget. It's creating our widget, but obviously it's not going to do anything because we hadn't added our pane volume. So because we created this lovely fire pit blueprint last time, we don't want to disregard it at all. But if you were to create particle system effects, you would use blueprints as well in the future. So we're not necessarily going to use our pit of death collision box at the moment. We can leave it here as is. Feel free to go into the pit of death blueprint and delete the collision box. Currently it's not doing anything other than printing a string on our screen that says burning, so maybe we can keep that in for the time being, no problem. This is something we set up last time, but instead we're gonna go here to our green box with a plus sign and search pane, and in here we have volumes called pane causing volume. So we're going to drag one of those and drop it into our scene around our fire pit. You can drop it anywhere in the level. This is why they're good. They're volume, so you can define their size. You can place them anywhere in the level where you want damage to occur. You might have hundreds of these fire pits, so you just place multiple of these volumes around. Now in the details panel of this pane causing volume, we're going to leave it the box in the perimeter of our fire pit as well. And inside our pane collision volume, we have a damage per second variable here, which is currently set to 1. We can set it at 10 just to increase the health bar damage we're receiving. And this, by the way, this damage per second pane causing is a direct reference to this function called event any damage, which is quite cool. So this damage float here has a correlation to this damage per second float variable here in this pane causing volume, which is quite cool. It's eliminated a lot of work for us to do there. So we're gonna just good practice, save all before we hit play, and leave that there. Hit play, and now if we go over our fire pit, we should see our health start decrease. And if I go out the fire pit, it stops because it's not calling that any damage function anymore. It's kept our health the way it is because our update function has stopped, and now it's going to call our update function again, and it's going to burn all the way. Now obviously we need to, I'm not going to get into it in this tutorial, but I'm sure Milo will show us a lovely dying animation when the health reaches 0. So that's maybe something I would encourage you to do for the next tutorial in your free time, to actually play, call an extra event, call an animation after this function update health bar reaches 0, which is currently set here in our player controller. So it'll be quite cool to do. So we all, is that all good? Has everyone got the same end?
Yeah, I got it working. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it worked.
Obviously fire hurts a lot, so you might want to increase that as a one-off hit, or maybe add a, maybe Milo, what you can do for the next one is actually make the effect follow him, so it's kind of like a pickup thing. So as he overlaps with the event, the actor here that we have here, this blueprint pit of death, actually gets attached to the player controller and just runs around with it, and the health decreases as well as he's going.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool. I might just make it like an invisible child of the main actor, and then just have it activated.
Activate it, exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you should have at least your progress bar updating, so feel free to download the icons from the workshop planning chat. I believe I shared it, or also on the G drive, and update the UI. But I guess the next steps, obviously, we're not going to go through it in this tutorial, but the next steps is to do another custom event once the health reaches 0. End game, maybe. It could be as simple as, if you want it to do something at the moment, where does the loop finish? was the loop finish? That's setting the percentage. That's defining the update. So the loop finish is here at 0. No, we have to do another branch. Sorry, a bit complicated. So the next step is actually creating a condition, so a branch that will enable us to say if the health reaches 0, then play exit game. So we need another loop to happen there in order to distinguish that, but we won't dive into that right now. Pretty cool. Enjoying myself going through this. But yeah, I hope you guys found that useful. We kind of deviated from this box collision trigger a little bit from the previous workshops, but I think, like I said, it's nice to use existing assets in Unreal that will help us with our coding. Otherwise, we would have had to, I guess maybe we wouldn't have enough time to cover it all in this tutorial. This paint collision volume, this damage per second would have to go in these blueprints instead. So I guess it's a nice and easier way to do that. And feel free to explore. You can create your own damage types as these paint causing volumes occur throughout your volumes. So these damage types are actually assets which you can create, and they can have different properties, and if you slap them on, lots of different things can happen. Fireworks to go off when you die, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, like always, I'll share everything in the Discord afterwards, all the links and the video. And next week's workshop is drum roll, lighting. Woo. Okay, we're gonna dive into what is causing all these frame drops in Unreal. GI, the global illumination, we call it. That's going to be a quite fun one, going through different lighting types and lighting up a nice environment scene for post-production, which we will use in our following tutorial after that for rendering. So rendering is all about lighting and cameras, super important. So anyone with a film background should be tip top in the next workshop. And obviously the one after that is building and packaging this game so we can play it on our Windows or mobile phones in the future. But yeah, 3 more left. Nice one. Let's smash it out. Thanks guys. I'm going to stop the recording right here.